After a family camping trip, my next guest's son became temperamental, had fits of rage, and seemed to have lost his communication skills. He fought with his siblings, he struggled with emotions, and he even lost the ability to complete normal functions like tying his shoelaces. After being misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder, autism, ADD, he was finally correctly diagnosed with, believe it or not, Lyme disease. Joining me this morning is Joshua's mother, Jamie Bierut, and Dr. Andrew Stromberg, a psychiatrist at Franciscan Hospital for Children, and he correctly diagnosed Joshua with Lyme disease. Thanks for being here. Jamie, let me start with you. Who was your son as a little boy prior to this camping trip?
Well, when he was an infant, he was very happy and healthy, and he just was the most, loving little guy who just, was very easygoing. And when he turned about 12 months old and we had started camping, we noticed some changes with his disposition.
And that would be about the time that a doctor might look at a child and say, oh, these are cases of autism, problems with communicating with people and that sort of thing. Did you think that's what might be the case?
At that point, I just saw more like speech delays and major agitation and him being very inconsolable, but the doctors all told me that it was just being a boy. His activity level was very extremely high, so all the doctors dismissed it when we lived in Indiana at that point.
And as a mom, what did your gut tell you?
My gut told me something was wrong with my son, and that I needed to do whatever it took to figure it out to help him so he wouldn't suffer.
And so how many doctors, how many specialists did you see? How many tests were run on Joshua before?
Oh my goodness. He had multiple hospitalizations for unexplained pain. When one morning he would wake up and he couldn't walk. He had probably 7 or 8 psychiatric hospitalizations starting at the young age of 5 years old. So he saw a million specialists.
Dr. Stromberg, when Joshua finally came to you, did you immediately suggest a Lyme titer, or was it just one suggestion in a myriad of tests that you wanted to run?
We were trying to look at different possibilities, but Lyme was certainly a consideration. He had had a couple of hospitalizations, as Jamie has indicated, medical hospitalizations as well as the psychiatric difficulties. So we wanted to kind of broaden the scope in terms of looking at other possibilities for him.
What was that day like when you realized it was Lyme disease for both of you, but for you, Jamie, in particular, when that Lyme titer came back and it was positive?
Well, I initially felt relief that maybe there was some other explanation other than a psychiatric explanation. At first I didn't know what to do with it, and it became frustrating because the medical community originally did not want to treat him because he had had it for so long and it went undetected.
When it comes to, I don't know why this is, I actually had Lyme disease, and I've found that when people share their stories of Lyme disease, often the doctors are reluctant to do a Lyme titer, going through a whole myriad of other things that it could be first. What do you think the resistance is there, Dr. Stromberg?
Well, I'm certainly not a Lyme expert, and I think there are those folks out there, and Jamie can speak to this as well, that really focus on treating Lyme and do a great job with that. Where it gets complicated is because there are so many different symptoms that can be associated with acute Lyme, but also chronic Lyme as well. It's very hard to sort out some of those issues. When
you do finally discover it's Lyme disease, and as Jamie said, it had gone on for so long, I assume that antibiotics are part of this treatment, and yet it's been in the body for so long. Is that actually effective?
Jamie can speak to that. Go ahead.
Okay, well, usually if you start antibiotics immediately after you've been infected, a 3 weeks dose is efficient, but for someone like Joshua, it's controversial if they should have long-term antibiotic treatment or not. I actually had to find the world's top pediatric Lyme specialist out of New Haven, Connecticut, where I continue to go for him to get treatment. And he's been on those antibiotics now for about 3 years, and it's saved his life.
Connecticut, of course, being for where that disease was even named. I know that you've written a book about this. Why was it important for you to get your story on paper?
It was important to me because I feel that there's a lot of parents out there who have struggled with their children, whether they have behavioral or emotional or medical problems, and they often feel alone, and I felt like I had an opportunity to show that there is hope and there is encouragement for them out there.
It's a powerful message, and certainly people who are going through this are not alone anymore. Thank you so much, Jamie, for being here and sharing your story, and Dr. Stromberg.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.